I have a lot of memories of Diane. I guess I feel as though I've known you my whole life.
Few Hollywood stars ever captured charm, mystery, and brilliance quite like Diane Keaton. From her quirky wit in Annie Hall to the heartbreak of The Godfather, she wasn't just an actress, she was an era. For over 5 decades, Keaton redefined what it meant to be both powerful and vulnerable on screen. But behind the hats, the humor, and the Oscar-winning smile lay a deeply private woman, one whose final days came as a shock to millions. Today, we uncover the full story: her rise to fame, her family, her hidden passions, and the truth behind her passing. This is the life and legacy of Diane Keaton. Diane Keaton's story began in Los Angeles in 1946, not in the glitter of Hollywood, but in the humble heart of a creative family. Her mother, Dorothy, a homemaker and amateur photographer, nurtured her imagination, while her father, Jack, kept the household steady with a civil engineer's discipline. Yet even as a child, Diane saw the world differently. Her mother's victory as Mrs. Los Angeles lit a spark, the belief that performance could be power. At Santa Ana High School, she was already known for her magnetic presence on stage, acting in plays, singing in school productions, and wearing her individuality like armor. After a brief stint at Santa Ana College, she packed her bags for New York, chasing a dream with no safety net. It was there she studied under the legendary Sanford Meisner, learning that truth, not perfection, makes a performance unforgettable. When she joined the Actors Equity Association, she took her mother's maiden name, Keaton, after discovering another Diane Hall already existed. That single decision would become the first step in shaping one of Hollywood's most recognizable names. In 1968, she landed her first major Broadway role in Hair, famously refusing to appear nude when others did, a small act of defiance that revealed everything about her spirit. Diane Keaton wasn't here to fit in. She was here to stand out. When Diane Keaton stepped onto the set of The Godfather in 1972, Hollywood didn't yet realize it was witnessing the birth of an icon. Director Francis Ford Coppola had seen something rare in her, an unpolished authenticity that could stand against Al Pacino's quiet intensity. Keaton wasn't the typical Hollywood beauty. She was unpredictable, witty, and just a little eccentric. And that's exactly why Coppola cast her as Kay Adams, the woman who would love, question, and ultimately stand apart from Michael Corleone. The film became an instant classic, winning Best Picture and redefining American cinema. For Keaton, it was more than a breakout role. It was an awakening. She learned that subtlety could be power, that silence could scream louder than words. When she reprised the role in The Godfather Part 2, Kay's heartbreak mirrored the actress's own understanding of love, betrayal, and independence. But while The Godfather gave her fame, it was only the prologue to her transformation. Hollywood wanted to box her into the role of the wife, the background presence. Diane refused. She wasn't built for the sidelines. Her next step would take her from the shadows of crime families into the bright, neurotic world of Woody Allen, a partnership that would not only win her an Oscar, but change the image of women on screen forever. By 1977, Diane Keaton was already respected, but Annie Hall made her immortal. In Woody Allen's semi-autobiographical masterpiece, she wasn't just playing a character, a pussy. She was the character. The awkward laugh, the halting speech, the oversized men's vests and hats, that was Diane. She wasn't performing. She was existing, unapologetically herself. Allen may have written Annie Hall, but Keaton breathed it to life. Her performance felt effortless, yet electric, a living contradiction of vulnerability and confidence, humor and heartbreak. Critics called it revolutionary. Audiences called it real. For the first time, a woman on screen wasn't idealized. She was human. When she won the Academy Award for Best Actress, it wasn't just for a role, it was for redefining what Hollywood thought a leading lady could be. Her fashion choices, inspired by her own offbeat style, sparked a nationwide trend. Women everywhere wearing baggy trousers, ties, and hats in tribute to Annie's independence. But behind the laughter and Oscar gold, Keaton was quietly reshaping her destiny. She'd become Woody Allen's muse, starring in a string of his films: Sleeper, Love and Death, Interiors. Yet she never let herself be defined by anyone else's vision. Annie Hall had opened the door to superstardom. But Diane Keaton's next chapter would prove she was far more than a muse. She was a force. After Annie Hall, Hollywood couldn't get enough of Diane Keaton, but she refused to be predictable. While many stars chased formulas, Keaton chased truth. In 1981, she joined Warren Beatty for Reds, a sweeping political epic that pushed her far beyond the witty romantic roles audiences knew her for. Playing journalist Louise Bryant, she gave a performance layered with passion, rebellion, and conviction, earning another Academy Award nomination and proving she could command drama just as fiercely as comedy. The 1980s and 90s became her golden middle years. She switched effortlessly between genres, the nurturing mother in Baby Boom, the elegant matriarch in Father of the Bride, the broken soul in Marvin's Room. Each role carried a piece of her as strength wrapped in self-doubt, grace laced with chaos. Off camera, her partnership with director Nancy Meyers brought some of her most beloved roles to life. Films like Something's Gotta Give in 2003, where she portrayed love and aging with rare honesty. That performance earned her yet another Oscar nomination, decades after her first. Through every transformation, one thing never changed. Diane Keaton refused to play women who lived quietly. She gave them voices, flaws, and fire. By the time most actresses faded into nostalgia, Keaton was only getting started, not chasing youth, but mastering reinvention. By the mid-1990s, Diane Keaton had conquered nearly every corner of Hollywood as an actress. But that wasn't enough. She wanted to create from behind the camera, to shape stories, not just star in them. In 1995, she made her directorial debut with Unstrung Heroes, a tender family drama that revealed her deep empathy for flawed, fragile souls. Critics praised her sensitivity, her eye for intimacy, her refusal to exaggerate emotion. A few years later came Hanging Up 2000, a film she both directed and starred in alongside Meg Ryan and Lisa Kudrow, exploring sisterhood, aging, and the painful comedy of family life. It wasn't just art imitating life. It was Keaton turning her own experiences, caring for her aging parents, navigating independence, into something universally human. But her creativity didn't stop at film. She became an architectural storyteller, restoring old homes across California and turning them into art pieces. To Diane, a house wasn't just a structure, son. It was a living memoir of forgotten beauty. She photographed what others ignored: doors, shadows, old storefronts, and published several photography books that captured her fascination with nostalgia. Every project, whether film or frame, spoke one truth: Diane Keaton saw beauty in imperfection. While others followed trends, she built them. She didn't just reinvent herself, she reinvented the idea of what a Hollywood woman could become. For all her fame, Diane Keaton remained one of Hollywood's great mysteries. She lived her life with the spotlight behind her, not on her. While tabloids chased gossip, Diane quietly built something far more meaningful: a family on her own terms. She never married, and she never apologized for it. Her relationships with Al Pacino and Warren Beatty were the stuff of legend, yet she walked away from both with grace, choosing independence over convention. "I wanted freedom," she once said, "and I got it." In the mid-1990s, Diane made a decision that changed her forever. She adopted 2 children, a daughter named Dexter in 1996 and a son named Duke in 2000. As a single mother, she poured into them the love she'd once given her craft. "Motherhood gave me everything," she said. "It made me softer, wiser, and more human." When her mother developed Alzheimer's, Diane cared for her until her passing in 2008. She later wrote movingly about that experience, capturing both the heartbreak and the beauty of watching time steal someone you love. Her devotion extended to her brother Randy, who battled mental illness until his death in 2021. Behind every film role and every polished red carpet appearance was a woman of quiet compassion, one who found her greatest role not on screen, but at home, as a daughter, sister, and mother. On October 11th, Hollywood stood still. News broke that Diane Keaton had passed away at the age of 79 in California, a headline that felt impossible to read. No illness had been announced, no decline had been seen. She was still posting on Instagram, still laughing about her dog, still glowing in interviews. And then, silence. Her family released a brief statement asking for privacy. No cause of death was made public. The mystery of her passing only deepened the sadness. Fans around the world flooded social media with tributes, sharing clips from Annie Hall, Something's Gotta Give, The Godfather, moments that had shaped generations. Colleagues like Ben Stiller and Paul Feig called her one of the greatest film actors ever, remembering her warmth, her humor, and that unmistakable sparkle of mischief that followed her everywhere. Her children, Dexter and Duke, remained her greatest legacy, the ones she often said saved her. They were by her side as the world mourned a woman who had never chased fame, only meaning. There was no final performance, no dramatic farewell, only a quiet exit, as if Diane herself had written it that way. A graceful curtain call for a life lived on her own terms. Hollywood had lost a star, but her light, her laughter, her defiance, her style refused to fade. Long before red carpet fashion became a viral industry, Diane Keaton was rewriting the rules of what beauty looked like. While others followed trends, she invented them, not through designers or stylists, but through authenticity. Her signature look, the oversized suits, crisp white shirts, bowler hats and ties, began as Annie Hall's wardrobe, but soon became Diane's armor. She once said, "Style is about feeling like yourself, not about fitting in." That philosophy turned her into a cultural phenomenon. Her menswear-inspired outfits weren't just eccentric choices. They were statements of freedom, self-respect, and rebellion against Hollywood's expectations of femininity. Off-screen, she carried that same fearless individuality. Rarely photographed without a hat or her radiant smile, Keaton's aesthetic became timeless, chic, intelligent, and quietly powerful. Magazines called her the woman who made awkward cool, while younger stars called her their North Star of originality. Her influence didn't end in fashion. She ventured into photography, architecture, and even home design, curating spaces and images that echoed her creative soul. Elegant, imperfect, human. Through it all, she never sold an image. She shared a perspective. In a town obsessed with youth and perfection, Diane Keaton proved that the most beautiful thing a woman can be is unapologetically herself. Behind the charm and laughter, Diane Keaton was quietly building an empire. She wasn't just an artist, she was a strategist. For decades, while Hollywood saw her as the eccentric star with hats and humor, Keaton was making some of the smartest financial moves in the business. She developed a deep love for architecture and real estate, buying and restoring historic homes throughout California. Each property she touched became a piece of living art, from Spanish villas to mid-century gems, later sold for millions. Her vision for design went beyond profit. It was preservation. Old houses, she once said, have stories to tell. You just have to listen. She also expanded into photography, publishing several acclaimed books capturing her love of texture, decay, and beauty in forgotten spaces. Later, she lent her name to fashion collaborations, home decor lines, and even wine collections, each extension a reflection of her meticulous taste. Her financial foresight was remarkable. At the time of her passing, Diane Keaton's net worth was estimated at around $100 million, built not just on films, but on curiosity, creativity, and courage. While some celebrities spent their fame, Diane invested hers in art, in architecture, in legacy. She had turned independence into both an identity and a business model. Even in success, she never chased excess. She simply built and left behind beauty that lasted. Diane Keaton's life was never about following the script. It was about writing her own. She entered Hollywood at a time when women were expected to smile, comply, and fade quietly into supporting roles. She did the opposite. She laughed too loudly, dressed too boldly, loved too freely, and in doing so, she changed the definition of what a woman could be, on screen and off. For more than 5 decades, she gave audiences characters who were real, messy, hopeful, insecure, strong. From the romantic chaos of Annie Hall to the heartbreak of The Godfather, from the aging grace of Something's Gotta Give to the warmth of Father of the Bride, every role carried a piece of her soul. But beyond the lights and awards, her greatest achievement was living life her way. She didn't marry to fit a mold, didn't conform to please the press, didn't hide her quirks to look perfect. She built a life filled with art, laughter, motherhood, and meaning, not approval. In the end, Diane Keaton didn't just play unforgettable women. She was one. Her story isn't a tragedy. It's a testament to courage, to curiosity, to being unapologetically different. And though the curtains have closed, the echo of her voice, soft, funny, fearless, will always remain. Because legends like Diane Keaton never truly leave. They just take a final bow and live forever on film.